Put your hands together all the way from Blackpool. The one, the only Mr. Leslie Melville.
Like that, I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. These are the famous Cornish Dingle Dangle wands. Now it's said that the first pair of Dingle Dangle wands were created by the legendary wizard Merlin at the castle of Tintagel many, many years ago. Of course, these weren't made in Tintagel, these were made in plastic. Now, it's easy to identify the dingle from the dangle. The dingle is the one with the short tassel, the dangle is the one with the long tassel. If you threw the two together, a strange thing happens. If you pull on the dingle, it becomes a dangle, and the dangle becomes a dingle. Similarly, if you pull on the new dingle, it goes back to being a dangle, and the new dangle goes back to being a dingle. Now, there are people with suspicious minds. They think the dingle and the dangle are connected at the ends. But that isn't true. Look, I'll separate the ends. And even with the two ends separated, if I pull on the dingle, it becomes a dangle, and the dangle becomes a dingle. Now, there are other people, some of them with university educations. They have deduced that the dingle and the dangle are connected at the angle. They think the cord runs up here, down there, across there, no, along there. That isn't true either. Look, I'll separate all four ends. And even with all four ends separated, if I pull on the dingle, it becomes a dangle, and the dangle becomes a dingle. Even if I hold them in separate hands. When I pull on the dingle, it becomes a dangle, and the dangle becomes a dingle. Now, very occasionally, this happens. And that can be very disconcerting. I know the first time it happened to me, I was quite upset, because up until then, I'd always thought that my dingle dangles were perfect. However, sitting up in bed one night repairing a puncture to my bicycle tyre, the solution hit me. And now I always carry with me this bangle. So that whenever my dingles have become dangles, I get hold of the bangle, I feel a tingle in my ankle, I pull on the bangle, and both bangles become dangles. And that's the final angle on the dingle, dangle, bangle wangle. Thank you very much. I have a friend who lives in Durham. He has a very interesting hobby. He collects money. Now, he hasn't always collected money. He used to collect antiques. And one day he was browsing in an antique shop in Durham, where he lives, when he came across this rather unusual box. Well, it wasn't a box at all, really. It was just four sides. It had no top, it had a loose bottom, and the loose bottom had a little hole in it. And yet when he looked inside the box, he was surprised to find a £5 note. Then another. And then another. And yet all it was four sides with no top and a loose bottom, and the loose bottom had a hole in it. And yet when he looked inside, he found a £5 note. Then another. And then another. Just then he heard a little cough. He looked around and the shop assistant was there. He said, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" He said, "Well, I'm rather interested in this box, but it's rather damaged. There's no top to it, the bottom's loose, there's even a hole in the bottom. But it is rather attractive," he said. "How much do you want for it?" So the man said, "Well, it's been in the shop a little while. Shall we say £15? So he reached into the box and handed him a £5 note. Then another. And then another. And he took the box home. Well, his wife was waiting for him when he got home. She said, "Where have you been, Stu?" She always called him Stu, short for stupid. He said, "I've been in an antique shop in Durham and I found this box." Well, it isn't a box at all, really. It's just four sides. Has no top, has a loose bottom, and the loose bottom has a little hole in it. And yet every time I look inside the box, he said, I find a £5 note. Then another. And then another. Well, he sat up all night playing around with this box. In the morning, he had an awful lot of money, which he put into a big sack and took around to the bank manager. The bank manager was very impressed. He said, "Where did you get all the money?" "Well," he said, "I was in an antique shop in Durham yesterday and I found this box." "Well, it isn't a box at all, really. It's just four sides. Has no top, has a loose bottom, and the loose bottom has a hole in it." And every time I look inside the box, he said, I find a £5 note. Then another. And then another. Well, the bank manager was impressed, but he was also a bit concerned, and he reported the matter to the police. The following day, the constable came round, resplendent in his uniform. He said, good morning, sir. I understand you're in possession of a remarkable box. May I see it? He said, yes, constable, come inside and take a seat. The constable went inside and sat down. Very quickly stood up again and removed the truncheon from his rear pocket. In the meantime, my friend brought his box. He said, this is it, constable. It isn't a box at all, really. It's just 4 sides. It has no top, has a loose bottom, has a loose bottom, has a little hole in it. And yet every time I look inside the box, he said, I find a £5 note. And then another. And then another. Well, the constable was impressed. He took a few notes and he left. He reported the matter to the tax office. The following day, the tax inspector came round. He said, I want to see this box. He said, this is it. It isn't a box at all. It's just 4 sides. It has no top. Has a loose bottom, and the loose bottom has a little hole in it. And yet every time I look inside the box, he said, I find a £5 note. Then another. And then another. Tax inspector was impressed. He said, could I borrow the box for a couple of days? He said, I'd like to show it to my colleagues at the office. So the man said, yes, you can borrow it, but make sure I get it back and it isn't damaged. So the tax inspector took it away. Very concerned indeed that a contraption like this could ruin the economy. So he went into his office, locked the door and examined the box. It was just 4 sides. It had no top, had a loose bottom, and the loose bottom had a little hole in it. He looked inside the box, but of course he was a tax inspector. He wasn't going to find any money, just a demand for payment. Then a reminder. Then the final notice, the red one. However, he wasn't satisfied, so he had the box completely destroyed, but not until he'd had an absolute replica made, which he sent back to my friend. My friend got his box back, he looked at it, he thought it doesn't look quite the same. Maybe he's been polishing it up. Dashed upstairs to the bedroom, locked the door. He examined the box, it was just 4 sides. Had no top, had a loose bottom, and the loose bottom had a little hole in it. He looked inside the box, full of expectations. But of course, it wasn't the same box. There were no £5 notes. Just a £20 note. Then another. And then another. Thank you very much. Second half, and I hope to make one of you a true believer. Thank you very much, and see you later.
Thank you very much. One more time. Put your hands together for one, the only Mr. Leslie Melville. Nice try, Alan. Nice try.